Okay, we are live.
Thank you, Jeff.
Welcome to episode 2 of Up for a Challenge, the show where we challenge each other to do challenging things such as challenging each other. Does someone want to take the ball and catch us up about life, the universe, and everything before we go into last week's challenge?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I'm in the midst, life for me, I can't speak for you guys, but life for me consists of editing a script right now for Company Q and dealing with the craziness of formats going back and forth from a Word document to Google Drives to my Mac to Cuneiform to just everything. So just trying to figure that out. And what else? I also saw Age of Ultron this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before we went live.
We were.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah. And Sarah, would you like to talk about the Thanos little tease that happens in the mid credit sequence of the movie?
Right, you mean Dennis?
Yes.
You mean Dennis?
Dennis. Dennis.
Dennis, the purple guy, comes on and says he's going to do it himself with his magic glove of 6 fingers,
Dennis, Thanos' idiot screw-up younger brother that still lives at
Right.
home with mom. Yep.
But if anything, it's because of how Jeff said it. So it's,
Oh, God.
a mix between Dennis and Dan and Yogurt. And I just heard Dennis in the movie theater.
Ultron, Age of Dennis.
Because isn't that creepier? It's not like you have an old school, but like,
Yeah.
my name's Dennis, and
Sure.
I'm going to destroy you. Like,
Yeah.
that's,
No one
Every
would
day.
suspect a guy named Dennis.
right?
Tom, destroyer of worlds. Billy, bringer of death. Put a nice little name in front of it, and no one will suspect that guy.
No one
Yeah.
will.
So Dennis doesn't collect infinity gems. He collects...
Girl Scout cookies.
He collects the tops off of beer bottles because one day he's going to varnish them into a really awesome coffee table. But he just keeps collecting them. He's never going to do it. He's never
No.
going to do it.
Never.
Speaking of Dennis, and I forgot that I knew this. Apparently, this week, I think it was this week in syndicated the Dennis the Menace cartoons. Apparently, they did a design change on Dennis within the last couple of years, so he more closely looks like the original Dennis the Menace from back in the 30s or 40s or whenever it started.
Yeah.
However, there was a little bomb that dropped that Dennis's dad in the new current version of the comics has been making references to a couple of things from his childhood, and apparently they just revealed in the comics this week that the current Dennis the Menace's dad was the former Dennis the Menace grown up. Does that make sense? Yeah. So apparently they finally made that official this week sometime. Yeah.
So it comes full circle.
Yeah.
That's how karma works.
That is very cool. Excuse me.
That's right. Everybody coughing and hacking.
That's right. Riveting live
Sure.
broadcast. Oh yeah.
All right. So what's going on with you guys? Because I kind of hogged the conversation. I guess.
I made a successful full mask mold for this cat mask I'm making out of neoprene, and I've had many different versions of molds, and they always ended up cracking in the center, and then I had a eureka moment, and so now I have an actual mold. So tomorrow I'm going to try and cast some stuff. Oh, and I opened a business account for Rogue Masks.
Hooray.
So it's official.
That's right. So now you have things. You can write checks.
You can write checks to Rogue Masks.
You can have checks written to
I
you.
know. That's great.
Cool beans.
feel
What
very
about you?
happy.
What about you, Jeff? What are you doing?
I spent the week recording an audiobook, which was cool because I'd never done it before. It was weird,
Yeah.
but it was a real test in endurance because while I'm used to doing shows like this, for a little while, having 2 6-hour days back to back of reading, especially where I pitch the audiobook, which is a little lower. Spending 12 hours doing that, you start to get a little fuzzy, a little soft
Sure.
focus behind, with everything in the room, and your voice gets all cracky and stuff.
And I
but-
imagine saying the same words over and over again too. You know what I mean? It's that
Yeah.
the words kind of lose their meaning at some point, and you're just making sounds
Yes.
and going
Very
Yeah,
quickly.
what does this word even mean anymore? What is that?
Right.
Yeah,
And you have to get really good at jumping in.
Right.
So you'll screw up a word, and you'll screw up the same word like 5 times. So go my mouth doesn't work
Yeah.
anymore, and they'll pick back up at the beginning of the line or a few words back, and at some point the recording of you just drops out, and you've got to pick back into the middle of the sentence and make it natural. So you're like, I got to do it again. And then he said, just wait.
yeah.
Anyway, it was weird, and then I had a weird audition, but I had to sign a bunch of forms, so I
Sure,
can't
sure.
talk about that. But I'll tell you about that
Okay.
later.
I can't wait. Cool beans. All right. So, what was the? Let's remind people. What was the challenge last week?
The
yes.
challenge was for you to broadcast on Periscope every day about your life. My personal favorite was you eating pizza. That was my personal.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Great.
And
We did tune into them. I didn't catch all of them. I missed the final one,
Okay.
and we were supposed to Periscope this one today, but I didn't think
Sure,
to do
sure.
it. I missed the very final one, so I'm curious as to what happened on the last one, and I'm also curious if you saved any of them to your camera roll,
yeah.
because if you did, I'd like to see
I
them.
did. I saved. I really only did one broadcast a day, just because a lot of the situations I'm in, I'm around. I'm in the schools, so I'm around
Right,
children.
and
So
that's
it's
not-
yeah. So and then sometimes the only time that was made available to me where I could broadcast was like these last 2 ones where I was at home. So I kept them really short because I didn't have access to Wi-Fi, because I didn't want to tear through my data. So this was kind of my experience with Periscope. I tried to just, watch other people's stuff and trying to figure it out, like not going to sort of outside sources to get reviews on Periscope and things like that. But as a general sense, I'd say it was fun. It was interesting. It feels like Periscope content creators kind of fall into 3 categories. There are those people that are using it in a very sort of business-minded way. They have a point of view or a product or a something they're trying
Or spam.
well, yeah, or something that they're trying to sell you on, right? And so it's the idea of, oh, I've got 30 minutes today to possibly talk directly to Tony Robbins or whoever might have a channel and might do it, right? So it's, you know what I mean? So you've got active sort of visual confirmation that I'm talking to this person that I want feedback from. Then there's people that seem to treat it more like a journal sort of confessional sort of thing.
Oh,
You know
wow.
what I'm
Today.
So like an actual live journal. All right.
like literally, and I found myself laughing at that term when I finally made the connection, and I remember my consternation with live journals when they were a thing.
Right.
I never had a live journal, but I had many friends and were in many social situations where people did, and I just thought they were ridiculous.
Aren't they? You can still go back and read some of them.
Yeah.
Like I was writing a weird story, and like 16-year-old me was so angsty, and I just I just laughed heartily.
I'll never forget, there was one time, this was in the theater department, and there was some tiff going on amongst this group of people in the green room. And I remember very clearly one time they were all huffing and puffing and getting into a fight. And then there was just a moment where they all stopped talking. They, as a group, collectively got up, went to our computer lab, and immediately sat down and started live journaling about this fight that they were having amongst these 4 people. Not talking to each other or trying to resolve it in any way, but letting the entire internet know. But that's
my God.
Yeah, but that's a digression. But yeah, so there were people
Right.
that were, people that were using it in terms of a sort of a journal, but in some ways then kind of throwing it out to people that were watching at the time, like, so here's the situation, what do I do? Right? Sort of actively seeking advice.
Advice,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then there was a third category of people that I kind of felt like they, just would turn it on at any moment. So you were watching somebody wander through a convention sort of center or hall trying to look for directions to some workshop or conference room. And so literally you're watching like the camera swing, and you kind of hear the voice of the person that you assume is attached to the channel. And, it was I don't know. It was the I guess the extreme of what they want that live broadcast of your life to be, So that's a general sense of how I felt things broke down. I kind of swung back and forth trying out a couple of different things. I think I more squarely fell in sort of the journal category. Like I'd kind of check in and say, this is what I'm working on now. This is what just happened. I did have on Wednesday night, which was actually, I think, the most viewed of all the broadcast I did. We had our education department. It's the interns. It's the end of the year, and so we had a meal, a get together at our boss's house. And so I filmed the 3 interns in the kitchen while they were doing dishes and starting to clean a little bit, and then just kind of let it run for a bit while they kind of screwed around. And that was actually the most watched and most popular. Yeah, but I think I got. I don't know how many followers I picked up from when you started the channel, Jeff. I think there were maybe 3 or 4 that were attached to the assembler one, but we picked up another one. There was there's a 5th follower, and I'm going to say it's because of me. And they also have on the Periscope the app. When people are watching your channels and watching your stream, they can heart it. You tap to the side of the screen, and then that's how people approve of you or the content you are creating. And
I approve of your content.
And so over the course of a week, I accumulated 156 hearts.
That's great.
Yep. So I'm going to, and then I watched some of the channels I was watching, because I kind of explored other people's content. Some people, my God, it was just like a constant stream of those hearts, like boom, 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 and they would amass like thousands per broadcast, or some of the more business-minded people that really seemed to be the most popular on the site. Like I said, people that had a point of view and that were coming at it from here's 5 ways to write a better resume, or I even watched a couple, here's 9 ways to get more followers in your Periscope feed.
That's Metascope.
Yeah.
Watch my Periscope to find out how you can get more people to watch my Periscope. Your
right,
Periscope.
Right. And so it was very funny. But, I watched, there was another one where I watched where it was a producer in Hollywood for some TV show. He was a little roundabout, I guess, not saying the exact name of it was, but he does, I don't know if it's a daily or weekly thing, where he just streams and people pitch him TV show ideas. And so he would give like immediate feedback or say, hey, that's a good idea, and this is why, you know what I mean? And so again, it's real-time response to
sign these forms.
Yeah. It's a real-time response to sort of questions, I guess, that people would have. And it totally makes sense that it's built off of sort of the Twitter infrastructure that already exists, because again, Twitter sort of rewards that sort of that even though you've got a mass of followers, it really sort of rewards that one-on-one interaction between people. And Periscope, I feel, is kind of set up the same way, right? There's all these sort of infrastructure things built in with the live stream, and then people can comment, and then people can heart and like it. But then ultimately it comes down to when that content provider comments directly or responds directly to that question that you posed, or that that thing that comment that you put on their broadcast. So, yes. So it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested. How did it make you feel? I mean, were you nervous when you were broadcasting ever? Did you really care? Did the hearts matter? Did they not matter?
I think in the beginning, the hearts and the followers didn't matter. Like the first, I'd say 2 or 3 days, because again, I was just trying to figure it out. It was. I will say that again. I kind of found myself, and I don't know it was because I was using this Periscope feed through Assembler's channel, that I felt like I had to be a little bit more cautious of the things that I might throw out there and the things that I might say.
Oh, weird.
Sure.
I was really hoping you would just go for it.
Well, you know,
I was hoping that was why originally I was going to set you up a fake one. I wanted you to just
sure. And
go for it.
and honestly, but here's the thing, Jeff, because I know like we've talked about like the Angry Adam does the news sort of thing, that concept that you've encouraged before, and like my rants. And I was like, this format seems perfect for it. You know what I mean? Like something just happened. I literally just read this article. Here, let me go on Periscope and rant. Do a 2-minute rant
Right.
and put the information out there. But I pulled back from doing things like that. 'Cause again, I felt like there were some people, and I think this is the journaling group, that felt like sometimes there was a performance aspect to what they were doing. And so I was trying not to do that and just be, this is my real life sort of thing.
This is me.
Did
this
you?
Is my proof.
I have
This
a
is true
question.
life.
Did you because on Periscope you can leave comments.
Yeah.
Were there any comments that you found amusing or that spoke to you or?
Nobody commented on anything that I did except for Jeff.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there were a couple of comments through Jeff, but that was it. I commented on a couple of other people's pages or streams. Didn't, and again, they didn't respond to mine. But again, they were getting like comment after comment after comment, and so they would just kind of pull what kind of stood out to them. But no, I didn't get any feedback that way. But yeah. But that kind of goes back to, Jeff was saying, what was the experience like at the beginning, because everything was so new and I was just trying to figure it out. And again, I was trying to figure out how to be most successful at this thing. And then I got a little discouraged, I'd say Thursday and Friday, of going, oh, well, I don't have that many followers and I've only gotten this many hearts. And so, I got maybe a little discouraged about that, which seems kind of silly.
But isn't it funny that that social media makes you like crave attention from total strangers? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I'm not getting as much attention, so what's wrong with me? And I think that's so interesting with the psychology, of this generation of, I have this many followers on my Twitter account, or I have this many followers on my Instagram. But it's like, do you know who they are? No, but they follow me. And it's like,
they hang on my every word.
Yeah, but you need like a false sense of getting accolades, of like a false sense of people care.
Yeah.
And I think that's great in some ways, but in other ways I think it's false inflation of, I'm so important. You know what I mean? Like when we drive around in Atlanta, like there's people who aren't courteous drivers or whatever, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm ranting.
Is this the origin of I'm so important?
No.
I should tell people. So one of the things when Sarah and I are driving around town, I started saying a lot. We put in the car, like they cut you off and they do this stuff, and I just go, "Oh, I'm so important. I'm such an important driver." And so now we say, "I'm so important." And I think you're right. It applies to the social media life as well.
Yeah.
Adam, I'm wondering, is this something that you would continue to do on your own? Is this something you would do on your own without this prompt?
I think,
now that you've tried it.
Sure. I think, and again, going back to your original intention that you thought I would just kind of break loose and do, maybe if I removed myself from the assembler moniker and I did my own thing, maybe trying out the angry news rant thing. I don't know. That might be, and again, it might come back to that I wouldn't necessarily care then if I was getting likes or followers or anything, because I was putting out something that I personally cared about and believed in. You know what I mean? Which then often comes down to when things kind of take off and become popular, because you've got somebody that's putting out something that's personal and unique to them. So I don't know. It's definitely it's definitely a thought in my head. I feel right now. Having limited access to Wi-Fi, and so not being able to necessarily do it at home free will, where I think I would really be able to let loose because let's be honest, I can't really, you know what I mean? I can't really let loose where I have the most access to Wi-Fi at work. So there was a guy that was fired for that years ago here. So so I don't know. So it's a thought, but I think maybe if I can come up with a unique point of view. Again, be original and put something out there, then I think I would definitely want to play with this format a little bit more. Yeah.
I mean, you've definitely inspired me to try it out. I think it would be really fun. And I think, like, instead of talking about my life or whatever, like showing the masks making and, like, showing physical theater. And I think it's really great to sort of talk about the process of maybe doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but you inspired me to do it because I was like, oh, well, you and I are very similar when it comes to social media. And I was like, it looks like fun.
Yeah.
So you converted me.
I want to try it for a while, but I noticed the first time I did it, I was really nervous.
Yeah.
And which I thought was weird for me. And I'm like, why am I letting all these people into my life? And it was at trivia night or whatever. And I'm like, I should be hanging out with my friends, which I was doing. But I was like, but this is also like a cool thing to show people. Yeah. So I'm going to show people this. Mm-hmm. But then I was thinking, but is that okay with the people that I'm hanging out with? So I was using it differently than a live journaling thing. It was sort of a live event thing, which is, I think the thing that interests me more in using it, because I don't really care to live journal.
Sure.
I mean, on Periscope, I don't really know what I have to say. But if something interesting is happening, then I do kind of want to broadcast it. But I felt nervous about
I will say, though, that speaking of, because you say live eventing, and again, I think that kind of falls more in the camp of those people that were using it in sort of a businessy type way. But it really got me thinking in terms of all of the current events that have been going on in our country with filming of police officers, right? Catching them doing things that contradict police reports and things like that. I was like, this would be a really interesting, great tool, right? To immediately get that sort of get that video, get that response out there. I think you might run into some problems if there's, if they shoot somebody, things like that. I don't know what the legal implications would be.
Right, but like I think about what you're saying is you could live report almost in a way, and I think about like yesterday, this horrible incident occurred. A plane crashed on the interstate in Atlanta.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it completely shut down the entire 285 interstate, because they had to clean it up and all of that stuff. But I was thinking how in that moment, not to show necessarily the footage, but just to be like, so this just happened. This is like a live report. This is a plane just crashed in front of me. Or, I think about the Boston bombings, or I think about, how there's all those conspiracy theorists about 9/11, how if you had something like this back then, how much more information you could get in a moment of, this is my experience, this is what I see, this is what is happening. As opposed to when Russia and was it Crimea, they were having their conflict, and people were live tweeting. If you could add then that other layer on it, the periscoping with the live tweeting, then it's I think you would have more awareness of the things that happen outside of your bubble.
Well, and Periscope is built on the back of Twitter, so I think that's part of the plan. Is that Periscope is actually run by Twitter.
Okay.
So there's an option that you can turn on when you Periscope to send a tweet out. So if this tool had been available then, and if you had a Russian that was tweeting about this thing that they were witnessing right now, and then they threw up a tweet that was Periscope, so you can see it and you could hop right in there from Twitter, which I think is what you're talking about. Which is so it's here, which is cool.
But that just seemed, and it's funny because it was actually hearing that report about the plane crash in Atlanta that kind of triggered the idea, and then I just kind of kept chasing it to its logical conclusion. So, but so I think it's a valid tool. I think it's an interesting tool. I want to, like I said, I want to come up. I think I want to have a stronger point of view of something to put out there before I pursue it in a personal way, I guess.
Right, that makes sense. Speaking of personal ways, I just remember very often getting very close to your beard.
Oh,
Really,
really?
like there's a lot of these shots, a lot of the chin.
Well, this is.
We have to get you a Periscope stick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know that they
That's
have
true.
selfie sticks now that look like a person's hand.
Ah,
you
yeah.
can-
Oh, it's
You can
terrifying.
look like that you're holding
Why do you
someone's
want
hand.
that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why does anybody want that?
So you don't seem lonely.
But since we are trying to keep it short, per Jeff's request, Adam, I think you should tell us what your challenge is. You came up with one for the group.
Yeah, I do have a challenge, and this is, I guess, more of a sociological one. I was reading an article. Surprise, a couple of weeks ago, and this was a Paul Krugman piece, and he's an economist that writes op-ed columns for a couple of papers, and I really like him because he has a very nuanced sort of analysis of what works, what doesn't work in our economy, and more broadly, what works and doesn't work in our political system. And so the article was about acknowledging when you are wrong. He was making the point of a lot of conservatives and Republicans that currently are in our Congress that a couple of years ago were, talking about the one example he threw out, Obamacare. Okay, when the Affordable Care Act is fully implemented, premiums are going to skyrocket. Only the sick are going to sign up for it. People are going to sign up for it and then not pay. And then, it's going to be hundreds of thousands of jobs are going to be lost. And so now we are, I think we're 2 full years from full implementation of the laws, and literally none of those predictions have come to pass. And some of it, he blames the media for not holding accountable those people in power of saying, so remember those things that you predicted,
Right.
those dire predictions a couple of years ago? They're all completely untrue. Or he made the point of, there's the talk of people want to go to war with Iran right now. And a lot of the people that are making that case are the same people that made the case to invade Iraq, and based on information that was completely wrong. And so there's
Right.
there's in the political realm, and specifically he's calling out conservatives and Republicans, but does acknowledge that this is a political problem, that people just don't admit when they're wrong, right? There's always that spin of the apology where you don't really
Yeah.
acknowledge you were wrong. You just kind of say, well, I'm sorry that my words were misinterpreted this way. And it's like, no, you were wrong. You were completely wrong. And so, I was going to challenge both of you and myself to quickly share a moment in your life where you were 100% wrong and yet refused to acknowledge your wrongness in that situation. I would hope at some point you did acknowledge that you were wrong, but Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think.
Hello?
Sorry, it got really quiet all of a sudden. I didn't hear
Oh,
the
we
feedback.
were. I
Oh,
was
we were just
very
listening.
Oh,
interested.
okay. Sure.
This is what it sounds like when people listen. I know
sorry.
we're not really
But
used
So,
to
So-
we have a week to think of a
that.
story because I'm trying to think of one.
Sure. Well, I'll share mine right now, and then
Okay.
so I guess maybe it'll be 2 challenges. So there was one time I was.
This is the example.
This is the
Okay.
example. All right, and I'm sharing
Okay.
a fairly minor, superficial one right now, and so that you have a week to process and share one that you are comfortable putting out there live on the internet. Right. So this one was a couple of years ago, and I got into a fight with the person I was dating at the time, and this was about, and again, completely ridiculous, stupid. I sincerely hate artificial, like, cinnamon taste. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
cinnamon
Oh, God.
candy. Like it's just a sensation. It's just this burning sensation on the tongue. It's not cinnamon at all. And anyway, the toothpaste that I was using at the time and still do occasionally was Close Up, which is like dirt cheap.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't realize it was cinnamon flavor. Like, it didn't taste like that thing that I thought artificial cinnamon tasted like. And we got into a fight about that because she insisted that there was cinnamon in it. And I was like, no, you're wrong. Like, I know what artificial cinnamon tastes like, and that is not it. And like literally, it got to the point where we were both crying, yelling at each other, how ridiculously stupid it was. And I was completely wrong, like just completely and utterly wrong. And it could have easily just have been, I could have gotten up, one of us could have gotten up, gone to the bathroom and grabbed that tube of toothpaste and read the ingredients on the back. And sure enough, I eventually did, and it was the artificial cinnamon taste in there, which I had never tasted. Like, it tasted more like a Bernie mint. So I was completely and 100% wrong. And, it was a stupid thing to fight about. And again, I don't know if I ever said I was wrong. I think I probably came up with some stupid justification and rationalization of, well, it doesn't taste like it, so that's why I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't an apology. It was it was a rationalization for why I was so entrenched in my position. So the challenge I have for you two, and I guess the challenge I have for anybody listening, is think of a time when you were 100% wrong. And I know I may be going down a dark path.
I'm going to have to think really hard.
Well, no, I was going to say, I think I'm poking the bear here a little bit, since you two do live together and are in a committed relationship.
Yeah, but the thing with our relationship is that eventually we tell each other and we laugh about it. Like, I don't feel like it wouldn't be a thing. Like, there's one example I can think of, because I'll go way back to, like, I'll think about something really hard. But there's one I've thought about is when I lost my keys, and I totally blamed Jeff. Yeah. There's like, you had them last, and this, and they were like in my bathroom under my clothes. But like, I was like, oh, I found them. They were in your closet, and like,
yeah,
what?
Confessionals. But you know what I mean?
I did that once. Yeah.
We will lie, and we will do everything to save face. So the challenge I have is everyone to think of a moment.
Join us next week when we don't live together.
Where you are 100% wrong. And if there is a new moment that presents itself during the week where you are 100% wrong, I want you to stop. I want you to take a breath, and I want you to think about me.
Okay.
And I want you to say to that other person, I want you to say, I'm wrong. I am 100% wrong. Okay. Just right in that moment. All right? So that is the challenge.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Okay. Challenge accepted. Okay, that's a really good one. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for this week. We've got a lot to think about, some of us more than others, Sarah.
So should we do sign-offs now?
Yeah, pretty much. A couple of housekeeping things real quick. We'll be back here, we're assuming next week, right? Same time? Yeah. Is that going to work?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know right now, yes. Yeah.
All right. And if that doesn't work, we'll post something on the website. Check us out. We're at assembler.fm. You'll see the show right there. But for people that Adam believes are sitting there with notepads ready to write this down, go to assembler.fm/U4C/2. The show is sponsored by nobody, because when nobody sponsors your podcast, nobody can be disappointed. Okay, I guess that's it. Sign-offs. Who would like to start?
I'm Sarah, and I know where my keys are.
I'm Jeff, and I have a lot of questions for Sarah.
I am Adam, and I am 100% wrong 87% of the time.
Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Oh, I can take this shirt off, finally.